this river is a really good example of water that's very polluted. This is the Ganges River. I think I'm saying that right. Where is it? Where is it? Okay, and why is it really polluted? You sound like you know.
Religions.
Okay, so why do people want to use this water? Because of their religion. Yeah, it's considered a holy river. So especially in, I forget which city it is, but I think they call it like the Holy City, maybe, which just tends to be a center where, I guess where the religion is based. More people in that city than in other cities along the river are very interested in bathing in the river. It's a ritual that helps bring cleansing. That's the idea. So the problem is it's not a very clean river. So all of these people are bathing in it, which makes it potentially dirtier. But then if there is anything in the water, they're exposing themselves to it. So like that's a health risk. Okay. This is the Ganges River in India. It's called India's Holy River sometimes. So all of section 18.1 is about water pollution and stuff that contributes to that. So these first 2 pages kind of give you a summary of what to expect, and then every section after that talks about the different types of pollutants. So if you've read through this should mostly be review. Stop me and ask questions if you have them, or if you want to clarify something that I've written down or that I'm talking about. You need to know what the Clean Water Act is. So it might be abbreviated CWA. It was passed in 1972. You may have heard of it before. There's been stuff in the news about it recently. There's actually been a lot of things in the news in the last couple of years related to the EPA and different laws and regulations that have been passed. So the Clean Water Act is one of them. But that was the first big law, really the first law ever that was signed in the U.S. that impacted water quality and trying to control the level of water pollution of different things and restrict people from doing certain things to pollute the water. Okay, so again, that was 1972. So you should ask your parents or maybe your grandparents if they remember seeing signs up at rivers and lakes and things that said like do not swim, not safe, things like that. Have you seen any of those signs at a river or lake in your lifetime?
I don't go outside.
You don't go outside. That is very sad.
No.
Okay. No, you haven't seen any of those? Okay. So I have. There's a lake that I would drive by, and if I go up to visit my parents, would still pass. I think it's called Ford Lake. It might be Henry Ford Lake. But there are signs up that still say like not safe for swimming. So you can boat on it. You can fish and then throw the fish back. But it's not safe for swimming still because of the levels of different things that are in the water. And if you go along, it's the Mississippi River, right? It passes through town.
Yeah.
If you go down there, certain portions of the bank will have signs that say like, do not swim. And we're going to talk about why, if not today, then later. But a part of that is related to contamination. A part of it's also safety, but a part of it is related to contamination. So the reason I say ask your parents or your grandparents is that there was a point when most of the lakes and rivers that we had access to were not safe for swimming. So that's changed quite a bit. And that's a good thing, I think. But that's changed because of laws and restrictions and people getting fined. So there had to be a consequence before people started caring. It's kind of that tragedy of the commons thing. If no one is making you look after it, do you care about it? Unfortunately, most people tend to not. So water pollution can be physical, biological, or chemical. So that could be a like marble that gets dropped into the lake. It could be food that gets put into the lake. It could be somebody's leftover face cream that they dump into the lake. Like any of those types of things, okay, can be considered pollutants. So there's 2 different types of pollution. We've kind of talked about these before. There's point pollution and non-point pollution. Question?
What's biological?
Biological, organic.
Oh.
So that can be waste from humans or animals. It could be leftover food, because that's also organic. Okay. Fair question though. So point source means that it comes from a specific location. This would be a pipe that's dumping waste straight into the river, or a lake. Non-point sources are scattered or diffuse. So I'm giving you both of those words because diffuse would be another term for it, and it's good to have more English in your arsenal. Do you remember when we talked about the difference between energy qualities?
Yes.
There's high quality energy and low quality energy. Do you remember the difference between the two?
One's condensed, the other's just. But it's not dense.
Okay.
No.
So give me an example of a high quality energy.
Coal.
Okay. Coal compared to what's a low quality energy?
So you could say air.
Hot air or warm water. Okay. So low quality energy is more diffuse. So the energy or it's hard to convert or get energy from that source. So yes, warm water has energy stored into it, but it's hard to do anything with warm water to get energy back out of that system. Also, a warm lake is vastly different than a piece of coal because you can burn a piece of coal and direct where the energy from that goes. It's hard to get all the energy out of a warm lake. Okay, so same kind of thing here, point source versus non-point source. A non-point source is scattered. So it comes from lots of different areas, or it's hard to pinpoint where exactly it's coming from. So you should know examples of each kind and the difference in controlling them. With the Clean Water Act, it's a whole lot easier to track point source pollution because it's really easy to see if a pipe is dumping into a river or not, and to test the quality of what comes out of that pipe to see if it's clean enough or not. It's very difficult to control some non-point sources because that would include things like fertilizer and pesticides and all of the erosion from farms in the Midwest. Those would be places where non-point solution or not non-point pollution, comes from. But it's really hard to say which farm is actually responsible for what. Okay, so it's harder to track that. Atmospheric deposition is one way that water pollution takes place. So this is the idea that those air currents we've talked about actually pick up pollutants from one place and then drop them in another place. So we get air pollution, atmospheric deposition from mines and plants in China that are dropped onto the west coast and then into the Pacific Ocean. And the same for other places. There's a lot of atmospheric deposition that occurs into bodies of water like the Great Lakes. But the Great Lakes also have things evaporate out of it, and then those are deposited other places. So that's another type of non-point solution. It's not, so I keep saying solution. Pollution, not solution. Non-point source pollution. I can't talk. Okay. This table summarizes all of the rest of the stuff, and I guess I'll talk about the rest of the chapter on Monday.